this is Hot Topic here on Morning Kickaround. It is Friday, July 25th. My name's Robert. We got Jenny in for Jason. Is it blockbuster or bluster over the All-Star break? Paul Tenorio wrote an article saying that Major League Soccer leadership and Don Garber are hinting at a 3-tier change coming to Major League Soccer. And you kind of, in Paul Tenorio's article in The Athletic, kind of broke it down into 3 separate pillars for what is to come. But I think this whole All-Star break was a bit of a tease. A story came out at the beginning of the week saying the Philadelphia ownership, they're going to vote. You know, they were leaning towards voting for the calendar switch. But in the end, before we get to the changes, I mean, I think the biggest news was they teased calendar shift votes, but it didn't happen, Jenny.
Yeah, it does seem like there's a lot of support for the calendar change within the MLS ownership ranks. The Tenorio article, I think, mentioned 27 out of 30 owners have been supportive of the switch to the fall-spring calendar, which makes you feel like it should have happened already. But I think they're also realizing that making this calendar switch, particularly in the time span they want to make it in, is a lot more difficult than you'd think it would be. Just considering you're either going to have a really, really long regular season, or you're going to have an extremely long off season. And there's a lot of logistics that kind of need to be planned out. There's some talk about this going on in our Discord server about how would you actually physically execute this switch. And I think that is the bigger holdup here.
It's like, how do you put one system on pause and then ignite the next one?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, okay, so typically your MLS season is ending in December and then starting up again in late February, early March. So do you spread out this, if you're going to make the calendar switch for, let's say, the 2026 regular season in 1 year, do you extend this playoff season, kind of drag it out into, say, the new year and then start your new season up late? I mean, it's very difficult to organize. And I think as much as they would like to kind of get this in for the 2026 World Cup, I'm not entirely sure it's possible. Are we going to see a long off season after this winter? Are they going to wait a year? It's like there's so much that needs to be figured out. That's why I don't think they voted on it.
Well, do you recall my proposition for this? This was my first foray into AI-generated images when I said that 2026 would be the perfect time for the switch. And then because the summer will be occupied next summer with the World Cup, obviously, and this season ends in December. So a couple months ago, you could look back on the Morning Kick Around. This is probably early. This is like a December, January episode. I thought of a spring blowout American Soccer Spectacular tournament to fill that spring before. I mean, the Club World Cup kind of took my thunder a little bit there. I was saying get monster trucks, flamethrowers, rappers, going across the field, just Americanize a crazy tournament in the spring to get people excited and to obviously, have everyone in action and playing. And then it would be the one time where you could just have a weird one-off event. The World Cup happens, and then in the fall, that's when the new format change would happen.
Kind of like an MLS is back tournament during COVID, only with actual fans there and fanfare around it.
Yeah, I was just thinking, imagine the stadium in Atlanta and just go all out NFL, and even maybe NFL times a couple, and just literally just have crazy over the top spectacle stuff, because in the end the result will be secondary because it'll just be a one-off tournament. So just make it this crazy celebration of a American hype on a big tournament that lasts a couple months in the springtime, and then switch to the fall. But that's a bit of a distraction. If you want to see the wild posters I created for my American Soccer Spectacular, look back in the Morning Kick Around archives. But what we really wanted to dig in on was the 3 tiers of major change that was teased by Don Garber. So we kind of covered the first one, was the calendar shift. The main quote from the commish was that he believes that the alignment is something that makes sense and something they will eventually get to. But as they do, they tend to tease changes for a couple of years before it ever really happens. And I'm not sure if that's whether to tease public reaction, kind of gauge public reaction, a la that leak about Philadelphia, like leaning towards what their vote was, or whether that's just a delay tactic because they want to like hint that they're going to make changes without actually being prepared to. But the second tier, which was interesting to even see that they're considering it. Don Garber said the second tier was to remap the competition itself, change the structure of the regular season and playoffs entirely.
Yeah, and I wish I would got a little more details about this because I would like to see, okay, what exactly were they considering when they talk about the changes? It's like, okay, what are you going to do? I want to know. I mean, I think the playoff system of MLS is the most broken thing about the league, and more so than the roster rules, more so than the calendar, more so than the lack of promotion and relegation. I think the playoff system, they broke it themselves and need to fix it. That's the one thing I want more details. Like, what do you mean by revamp the competition? Are we going to a regionalized schedule? Are you breaking up into divisions? Are you going back to a 16 playoff format, an 18 playoff format? Is everything going to be a 3-game series now? Like, what do you mean here? This is kind of the biggest tease of me. We can all speculate about what roster things are going to change, about what the calendar is going to do, but give me a little more meat here. Restructuring the competition. Give me something. Come on, man. I mean, what do you want to see here?
Yeah, I don't know if this Garber quote is going to give you anything more to grab into. This is a Garber quote now. It's going to make the regular season more meaningful. It'll be more aligned with the rest of the world in terms of how they play their competition. And I think our playoff format will be really cool, unique, and very different from anything else that happens in North America. So very much boilerplate stuff there. But can you remember the format of the playoffs that was the most ideal? Or is it always just run into that November international break, which just like takes all momentum out of the playoffs recently?
No, the playoff format that I liked the best was the one they used was for a few years, starting in 2015, where it was 6 teams in each conference make it. The top 2 teams get their first round bye, kind of like the old NFL style. The first round was a single game elimination. The second round and third round were both 2-legged ties, and then the single game MLS Cup. That's personally what I think was the best format of MLS playoffs. The second best, I think, was the 8-team per conference single elimination. I'd personally be okay going to a 2-leg playoff sort of thing. I hate the 3-game series that we have in the first round right now.
I agree. That was a bit of a mess, but it also led to one of the quote unquote biggest upsets in MLS playoff history with the record breaking Inter Miami being humbled across the 3 games against lowly Atlanta.
Yes, and a similar sort of thing happened in the first year of this format. St. Louis City FC was expansion team, number 1 seed in the Western Conference, swept out of the first round of the playoffs. And that changing the format wouldn't actually have altered either of those results, I don't think. So
I think that
Miami might
I think they won that first game, if I'm not mistaken, because they forced the third game by winning that second one last year. And you could argue both ways that was an excellent example of that working, but you could also, depending on how you argue, we eliminated the record-breaking regular season team, and it's interesting international media covering it, because international media have gleamed onto Inter Miami failing last year because they went out in the first round of the playoffs, even though in their minds classically they won the league. They won the table. They broke the record for most points in the season, but it's wild because of that first round exit. It was deemed a failure, and just like that boilerplate line of it being a failure, I've heard English pundits say, they fell short last year, which is a wild take, which inevitably they did do, but in European parlance, they dominated.
Right, but by the standards they are measured by, they did fall short, and that's we talk about the Americanization of everything. That's a uniquely American thing for the most part, where a team has a bonkers regular season and then crashes out in a winner take all situation in the playoffs. I like that. I find it's kind of exciting. I think the 3-game series are kind of clunky, and their reasoning for it could be solved in a way that is a lot less clunky. They just want more games, and you can guarantee more games by doing 2 legs in each round. Don't even get me started on the play-in round between the 8 and 9 seed. It's like, come on, man. Chris C's comment there, fewer teams qualify for the playoffs. I agree. Anytime more than half of the teams in your league are qualifying for the playoffs, that's too many. Not enough teams get eliminated. There's not enough jeopardy in the regular season, especially without any threat of relegation. And that's a problem I have in a lot of sports. I'll keep it to soccer here, but it's like more than half of your teams are making the playoffs. The way it would be at most in MLS right now should be 7 per conference, where you have a first seed getting a first round bye, and the other 7 teams playing in a first round, kind of like a format they had done a few years ago. MLS, the playoff system is broken. I hate it.
Yeah, it's trouble, and I still haven't quite gotten over the fact that like the regular season you can be the best ever, and then you're a failure if you lose in those postseason games. I mean, you and I are both Detroiters. We suffered through many seasons of the Detroit Red Wings being the hands down the best team in hockey, and then losing in the playoffs. And
right,
they did win 4 Stanley Cups over 10, 12 years, but it could have been a whole lot more.
I think I want to address another one. The thing with Mike Thomas saying, "Yeah, single elimination is the best." I'm inclined to agree with that too a little bit. I still think 2 legs would be a little more interesting, I guess, just because of you'd guarantee an extra game, give another team a home game. But the single elimination is kind of nice. I've been on the beneficiary of an upset in a single elimination game. Detroit City FC's only playoff win came when they were number 8 seed at Pittsburgh, and they scored this little fluky goal late in the second half that ended up winning them the game. I think I was just kind of watching it. Okay, don't get your ass kicked here. But then they came out and they won together. Like, whoa, what the hell just happened?
And that really felt like they stole that. Right?
Oh, absolutely, they stole that. Yeah. But that was the Detroit City team, though. They were a smash and grab, play defense first, hope they get the 1 goal smash to win the game. And that's how they did it in the playoffs that year.
So the third tier in Paul Tenerio's athletic article that Don Garber laid out was so vague, but worth mentioning. He said a review of Major League Soccer's entire roster strategy. He intends on modernizing MLS's roster rules to allow it to truly compete in the global market and by extension field more competitive teams. I mean, that could be the most minuscule thing, like we need to add a couple more DPs, or that could be we're having a salary cap with no, that could be anything. That could
the dream, I think, that most people say is it completely unshackles the teams entirely. I don't think it'll go that far. That would be really nice. But...
There's still NFL owners in the league, so
right, yeah. There's I think more importantly, there are still American owners in the league that come from this salary cap structure of other American sports. What I would like to see, again, they didn't give a lot of details on this, but I'm going to just float what I would want to see teams do is instead of having salary cap, GAM, TAM, the alphabet soup of MLS funny money that we have now, you kind of just give every single team, this is the amount of money you have to spend on players, be it salaries, transfer fees, signing bonuses, whatever it is. You have, I'm just kind of shooting from the hip here, you have $20 million to spend however you like. You can use that $20 million on player salaries, on transfer fees. You can still have your designated players that can make whatever they want while only counting to the minimum charge. That's fine. But basically just stop handicapping teams and how they spend their money.
Yeah, I agree. I put the comments up a minute ago to MK Ultra member at Mike Thomas saying, set a cap, set a floor, build how you want. And the cap isn't the problem, the designations are. And it's obviously
that's my top one right there.
Yeah, the web has untangled a bit. When I first started really digging into Major League Soccer, when I moved to Chicago in 2010, just having an international player or like a transfer was almost like unheard of. It was very insular system, like reaching outside of the MLS bubble or transferring anyone out of it was way more complicated than it is now. And definitely teams didn't seem as willing to do it. It was only for a unicorn type player that they'd pull them out. But now, there's comings and goings all the time. That's part of what I think is Major League Soccer has, pushed on beyond their borders, so to speak, in that aspect. But yeah, if you make it more difficult to come to the league, how is that going to help if we are truly, or if Major League Soccer is truly interested in the product? Why put so many things that inhibit the teams from getting what they specifically want? Because for a long time, it seemed like they just got a player and they figured it out from, we got a player, let's see how we can plug them in. And that's not very exciting for anyone. If that's if it's just like, we got this guy from a mid-table team in Sweden. Oh, sweet. Like, what are you going to do with that? But a review of our entire roster strategy, says Don Garber. So I'm sure if that bluster, original question, is this all blockbuster or bluster stuff? I'm leaning towards bluster, or at least just teasing to keep people, following the thread.
I think I'm leaning towards bluster as well. I think it's more than just a tease. I think it's a hype up sort of thing. And then when they make these changes, particularly this, whatever the competition reformat's going to end up being, and the roster rules, it's going to ultimately be underwhelming. It's going to be something that they're going to hype up as a big change, but it's not actually going to do what the soccer hipsters like us want.
Yeah. I mean, all the designations and all that going out the window could be something as huge as that, like, no restrictions of this or that, or maybe what you wanted, like the have a floor and a ceiling, but it's more likely like you can add another DP or something like that. Will probably
and that's kind of what I'm worried that it's going to end up being.
We'll see how it goes as the story develops, and that whole changing the calendar at 2026 seems slimmer, I would say.
It feels like a long shot, like they won't be able to figure out the logistics of it all.
Like it was already a long shot, but now if they weren't going to make a concise effort on it at a year away, then it would be hard to think that they'd change anything at this point. So thanks for all the comments on this video. And if you'd like to get your name up on the screen, you become a member of the channel. Become an MK Ultra, you get priority commenting. So you can subscribe. That costs you absolutely nothing. Helps us out a lot. We just passed 3,000 subscribers. But then you can take it up a notch, become an MK Ultra, $3.99 a month. Priority commenting on screen, access to the Discord server with lots of great American soccer conversations, early access to videos, and bonus content. You can also support the program on coffee.com/morningkicker, where you got some specific fundraising goals. Would love to go out to a big soccer event next year and be all in person and do a very big show, a stadium opening, a club launch, maybe something surrounding the World Cup next year. We shall see. Thank you for everyone who's donated so far, and thank you if you're considering doing so again. And you can also find us as a podcast. Search Morning Kickaround on your favorite audio platform. You can find us on the social medias at Morning Kickaround, X, Instagram, and Blue Sky for now. And you can also write us a note, morningkickaround@gmail.com.